Alrighty, so welcome to episode 2 of the No Agenda Hockey Podcast. I'm Captain Paul with my co-host Chief. How are you doing there, Chief?
Pretty good, brother. Can't believe we're actually doing this again.
Hey man, we're going to try to bring these episodes weekly. In the backdrop right now, we have the St. Louis Blues against the Chicago Blackhawks because of the Winter Classic that took part, and even made sure to put their jerseys on for that Classic. So I kind of want to, let's go right into the Winter Classic. So the Blues beat the Chicago Blackhawks 6-2. I watched the game for the first 2 periods. It was like 5-1 after 2. It was entertaining because it was at Wrigley, and I understand that, but it wasn't really that exciting of a game to watch. It was very, very boring. But overall, I would say some takeaways that I had in this game is that Blues, since bringing in Montgomery, have looked quite better. Cam Fowler, he would score 2 goals in this game in his 1,000th NHL game. And yeah, the Blues look like a pretty steady team. Dylan Holloway gets his 14th goal on the season, and that's kind of crazy because the Oilers just say, let him go.
Yeah.
And he's been absolutely brilliant for the Blues, and he's on pace to score around 25 plus, maybe even 30 goals this season. He's looked pretty damn well. And if you're a Blues fan, Bennington, I thought, played pretty damn steady in net. That's a good sign. You need him to kind of turn things around. But with the Chicago Blackhawks, I mean, kind of more of the same. Nothing really crazy there. It's a team in a rebuild. And just wasn't, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the game. It wasn't the most entertaining matchup, in my opinion. But did you get a chance to watch it today, or were you working?
I was stuck at work. I was just following along. I had the game cast up on my phone. So after they got up by that second period, I really stopped caring.
Yeah, it was definitely not an interesting game. It was cool setting. But this goes into more of the next piece of this conversation I really want to have is the Winter Classic becoming redundant? And when I'm saying this is that, like, before it used to be like a special occasion, right? And before the Winter Classic, there was a Heritage Classics up in Canada, like where you'd have Calgary and Edmonton playing outside with frigid temperatures. But with the Winter Classics happening more frequently, having various different teams, does it even excite you anymore? Or is it just a gimmick?
I mean, the New Year's Eve game, I always think it. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, okay. Like the first one when they held that in Buffalo when it was the Penguins and the Sabres, that was... They couldn't have scripted that better. And I think if they pare it down to like just one game on New Year's Day and say another game later in January, it's just 2 a year is enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Is enough.
I think for me, when it comes to the Winter Classic, I enjoy them too, right? The whole setting, it's great, don't get me wrong. And I know it's going to be hard to do this when I say this, but you kind of know the Blackhawks aren't going to be a great team. And I know this happens and planned beforehand, but we know the Blackhawks aren't going to be good for, I mean, even last year, right? They're in a rebuild process. I just wish, where I think it could have been really special, I get it, it's Wrigley, I just wish we had a little bit of a better matchup today. And, you know, it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, sometimes you have some teams that aren't playing well. They'll play in the Winter Classic and they'll put up a solid performance. But I would say at this point for me, I think the Blackhawks have been in quite a bit of the Winter Classic, right? So
I was listening to NHL Network today. I was doing some running around during work, and I think they are one of the teams that have been in it the most. I might be wrong. I mean, I'm not.
I think they are, though. They have been in quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
And I would just like to see a bit more spreading of the wealth there, including some teams that really haven't been in there, and allow players in those different markets, allow fans in the different market to really enjoy the spectacle of playing a game outside in like a different arena, in a baseball field, football field, wherever you want it to be.
Well,
that would be my main gripe when it comes down to it. It's still a fun spectacle. It's really cool. You get a lot of really legendary type moments in these classics, but I would like to see more teams get a shot at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want the NHL to just go crazy and just try to, every year have like a half dozen of these things and just, because invariably it'll cheapen it.
Yeah, like keep it special, right?
Yeah.
Don't make it so that there's 5-10 of them in a season. Like keep it special. Keep it what it should be.
2 a year
and
at the most.
Yeah. Yeah, that I heavily agree with that. And some might disagree with that concept, but for me, if I want to keep this like the Winter Classic a classic, you have they're less frequent, right?
Yeah.
So
actually, I have an interesting question. I was talking to one of my guys at work, and we had an interesting conversation about piggybacking off the Chicago Blackhawks. Bedard's ELC is up next year, right?
I don't believe so. I think he's still got another year left on that deal.
It's 4 years?
Let me check it on Puckpedia just to kind of make sure that I'm not crazy on that.
Here's what we were bouncing around. What if the Blackhawks just continue to be not good?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes up for the end of his contract, and that's completely a plausible thing. Where would Connor Bedard stay there, or would he leave? And where would he go?
That is a very interesting question. When you really think about it, if I could actually use my mouse, that'd be amazing. So Bedard's contract, he is under contract. Well, he's an RFA, by the way, so the team would still control him, but 25 through 26 is the last year. So he's got this year and next year, and then he becomes an RFA.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes interesting because RFA, you could have a team come in there and offer him a bunch of money, something stupid. But obviously you would have to give draft picks if you did ultimately steal Bedard in a way from the Blackhawks. But answering the question, let's say that happens, right? Let's say a team comes down and offers Bedard let's say $10 million, right? Very high number.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blackhawks decide not to go forth. I personally think that would be a massive mistake by the Hawks.
Oh, I do too.
Because there's nobody else there to me that would really excite you. You have Taylor Hall at $6 million right now, and he's a UFA next year, and he's not what he was. Yeah, Bertuzzi, they locked. He's in a pretty good deal at 5.5.
Yep.
You have Teravainen. You have some guys that front. Solid, decent, but the pull there is Connor Bedard, and he's young, he's promising. But
you
would
still have
he
Seth
want to go
Jones
to
too.
Oh God. There's that. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of someone else when you said that. Yeah, Seth Jones. But to me, when it looks down to it with Bedard, does he get frustrated enough that he would take an offer sheet elsewhere?
Would he? He's going to be on. If he's on a bad team for 3 consecutive years.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's end game is to win the cup.
Right.
Would he take a discount to go to a cup contender? Like a Panthers or Carolina or Toronto, or...
Well, he couldn't. They essentially, Chicago would have the last opportunity to match, right?
Yeah.
So let's say he would take let's say just type of that, he would take a $6 million contract from the Panthers. The Blackhawks would have that last chance to match that and retain him, right? So I think when it comes down to it, if someone offers him stupid amount of money, let's say like 14 mil, right? Something like absurd.
Yeah.
Then it would get interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it truly goes into, do the Blackhawks believe he is like this generational talent that's going to eventually be a Sidney Crosby type player at the NHL level? Or is he just going to be a very, very solid player, very good player that, gets some all-star appearances, but he's not transcendent?
No,
if you don't believe he's transcendent, you don't offer him that $14 million deal. But if you do, and you think that with the Pats, what he did in juniors, if you think that's him, you think that's eventually going to be him at the NHL level, you do everything in your power to make sure that you do retain him.
Yeah.
If I'm Bedard, I would get frustrated with the Blackhawks. I would obviously want to play on a winner. I think that goes without saying. But I think if the Blackhawks show that they're willing to, make some signings, make some additions, not just depend on draft.
Yeah.
And, thus far, we got to see how the last couple draft classes, how they're going to pan out in the long term. But the Blackhawks, they'll have some space. They have $7.7 million in open cap space, or current open cap space. Some of that will be a variable due to IR situation. But the Blackhawks could be in a situation to keep adding and bring in some free agents. And, when you have a star-level player like Bedard, or a potential star player like Bedard, players are going to come to Chicago because they want to play with good players.
Yeah.
And I think if you surround Bedard with talent, I don't think it should be too much to worry about in Chicago.
So you think, hypothesizing, you think they could potentially make a run at the playoffs in 2 years?
Oh, I don't know that. I think it probably. I think it would. It just depends, right? Now, let's say some of the guys in the system that are developing, some of the draft picks come in and they hit. I mean, it's possible, right? We have seen teams come out of nowhere and become playoff teams once their guys they just click. Whether they're in Rockford or whether they're in junior right now or in college, they come in and they're instant impact type players. That is possible. Mm-hmm. I don't see it, but I would say for me, the Blackhawks timeline would probably be more around the 4 to 5 year.
Yeah.
Where maybe you make an appearance in that third year, but if you can at least make this team good enough where Bedard can see some improvement, where they're not just a laughing stock and they're at least sniffing around 500, I think that would keep them content, because a lot of these players have ego. They're like, you know what, I'll turn this franchise around, right? When you're that good, you do have ego. So I could see 4 or 5 year window where they're looking a bit more respectable. What about you?
It depends on how many just soul crushing. If he has 2 more soul crushing seasons, where he's obviously the best thing on the team, but there's nothing else around him. I think I might plant a seed.
It could.
Of, how long am I going to have to wait for these guys to put something on the rink that's going to, afford him the chance to take a run at a cup.
Well, and this is, how many years did McDavid go without even making the playoffs, right?
Oh,
so
quite a few.
Yeah, so it goes into that conversation that we've seen superstar players stay, especially when they're young. I think if Bedard, I would say this. Let's say it's 8 years. Let's say it's in his next contract when he's a true UFA, right? Where he gets a true UFA experience when he's in his mid-20s. If the Blackhawks have made zero improvement and they're still a laughingstock, he would leave. I would believe that.
Well, and there's one thing that we're not bringing into this is if they're consistently bad, what if they get 2 years of good draft picks?
That also plays into it, but it also, as we all know, the NHL draft is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't know if those players will... For it to make sense for Bedard, those guys would have to, they would have to hit on their next few draft classes. This last one would have to hit, and the next 2. Because then it's okay, reasonably you can expect those players to be at the NHL, hopefully in the higher end draft picks, in 2 to maybe 3-4 years. But it just really does come down to drafting and how well these players make the transition. Because we've seen a bunch of high end draft picks get selected, get that opportunity, and then they just, unfortunately, they don't pan out at the NHL level.
No.
It is what it is. It really does kind of depend on how this plays out with the draft picks.
Yeah.
And heck, if the Blackhawks bring in some really good free agents, like some top end type scorers and even top end defensemen, it changes the culture there. Because they are far removed from those days of Taves and Kane winning championships. It's quite a while from that. They haven't been that for a long time. Even towards the end of the Taves and Kane era, they were not a very good NHL hockey team. So, they got to bring a winning culture, got to build a winning culture.
Indeed.
But I think if you're a Blackhawks fan, and even management, it's going to take time. It's definitely going to take time.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail that, but.
No. That's actually a very good conversation to have. So let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? They're a team that has always had this high-end talent, or not always, but it's just last 4 to 5 seasons they've had elite level forwards up front.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a pretty damn good team again this year, right? They're looking good in the regular season like they always do. Is this the year that they're finally going to make some noise and go to the finals? Is this the year for them?
Okay, I am going to say something that's probably going to irritate both Toronto and Edmonton fans, but Toronto's more or less Edmonton light east.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto just has never had, not since, who was the last really great Toronto goaltender?
Great goaltender?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Maybe I'm
Hoffman,
probably dating myself here. Ed Belfour.
Cujo?
Ed Belfour. Cujo, Belfour. Hoffman was, the cat.
That was a generation ago.
Yeah. Well, they've been struggling to find that goaltender, but right now they've gotten some pretty solid goaltending.
Yeah. I also look at it as probably one of the most snake bit teams in hockey.
Yeah.
Because how many times has the Bruins just slain the mighty Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, there was years that the Bruins won they shouldn't have. That on paper Toronto had a deeper team and Toronto choked.
Yeah.
So but I would say the difference this year, in my opinion, with the Leafs is Samsonov was god awful for the Leafs, right? Yeah. And he was just terrible. And the tandem of Wall and Stolarz, both have played 17 games. Wall has a .913 save percentage, a 2.48 goals against average. Stolarz has a .927 save percentage, a 2.15 goals against average. They're getting really good goaltending. One of the best tandems in the league right now, to be fair, right? So I think they've gotten the steady goaltending. I think that's something they've definitely answered. Stolarz played fantastic behind the Panthers last year, and he, looks like he's getting an opportunity here to be the starter, right? So that random stat induced little commentary aside, do you think they'll actually do any damage? Do you think they'll go to the finals or not?
I see them probably doing well enough to get the first or second seed, the second or third seed overall.
Mm-hmm.
Beating whoever they have in the first round, probably somebody I don't know, I'd have to look at that.
If they finish first, they can face a wild card team. If they finish second, they'd have to face probably Tampa Bay or.
Yeah, that's what they could beat a Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
But once they get past that first round, they're going to have to face somebody like a Florida or a New Jersey or a Carolina. And for as great allotment of talent that they have,
mm-hmm.
they're just going to get ground to dust.
Yeah,
between the Devils, Carolina, or Florida, they're just just not heavy enough to me. Granted, I liked Tanev as a pickup.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to give them. That dude's built for the playoffs.
Absolutely, but can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
And that's not a hating question. Tanev on ice, when he's healthy, he's a great defenseman to have in the playoffs.
Yes.
But because he plays that style of hockey, can he stay healthy? That is actually a very good question to ask.
Yeah. I just don't, because you look at guys like, okay, you have Austin Matthews, great. Florida's got Kachuk. In the playoffs, who are you going to take? Kachuk. I mean, there's just, I don't know. I think Toronto's going to have a solid regular season.
Yeah.
They've got all this talent, but they're not built for the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean,
that's just me though.
I would say too, as I actually forgot this, Stoller's got knee surgery. That's right. I don't know why that slipped my mind. So, yeah, actually, I think so it's actually been hit. Yeah, because Matt Murray got called up the other night. I don't know why. I just blanked on that.
Wow.
So
did he really?
Yeah, I got a low body injury. It says on Puckpedia knee surgery.
Ooh.
So I think the
dream is dead.
Actually,
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of a little bit of a mistake on my part. I should have, because he was looking really good. Because I remember early in the season he was looking freaking great. But when it's Stollards, because he got injured on the 12th. Anyways, regardless though, let's say you go with Joseph Wall, who I'm a little bit biased. I do like Wall because where he went to where his career was.
No.
What he was my man was a good, I believe a BC boy.
Oh,
Boston
really?
College boy. Yeah, I believe so. Let me double check my facts here because I just messed up with the Stollers thing. So let me double check my facts, Eric. But yeah, I think I'm a big fan of anybody with that goes to Boston College. That's my favorite hockey team to cheer for.
Yeah, boo, Boston College.
Yeah, Boston College. I was right. Yep. So
go fight and sue.
I thought F them. But yeah.
All right.
Do it.
Oh, and how the podcast turned ugly.
Yeah, that would have turned out like for starting in fisticuffs. Yeah, I think for me, when it comes down to it, the Maple Leafs have to prove to me that they'll show up in the postseason.
Yeah.
And that they'll do something.
Because you remember when they won their first playoff series, and God knows how long, all those people going absolutely bonkers like they'd won the cup.
Yeah.
The first playoff series they'd won in Lord knows how many years.
Remember when they were saying we want Florida?
Yeah.
And then they got Florida and they regretted it very, very deeply.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. I mean, I don't think they're built for the postseason.
No, 100% no. I am right there with you.
I think they're a very good regular season team, and until they can prove me otherwise, I need their star players to show up in the big moments and actually do something.
So okay, quick side note then. Not to cut you off. My apologies. So did you see the Winter Classic commercial with Bedard handing out all the tickets to everybody?
Yeah, I did.
So that last cut, it had Austin Matthews standing next to Nathan McKinnon. And we saw it, and I was sitting next to my girlfriend on the couch, and I go, "Hey, babe, look! It's the best player in the world next to a guy that scores a lot of goals."
As your true Avalanche fan coming out, I mean, I'm not even mad at that take. Some people now this will get us hot water. I mean, some people would say you're crazy for saying McKinnon over McDavid, but I'm not really as mad at you. I think if you said McKinnon was your number one player in the world, I don't think that's a bad pick. I don't think it's a bad pick. But I mean, as for Austin Matthews, I mean, he's just got to.
Yeah.
He's got to show something in the postseason.
He's a goal scorer.
Yeah, he's a goal scorer.
He's like a slower Pavel Bure.
Slower Pavel Bure. Man, we forget. Pavel Bure was nasty.
Yes, he was.
I mean, Matthews could go down as one of the greatest goal scorers in U.S. history, U.S.-born goal scorers ever.
Yeah.
That's
It's funny.
definitely
Would he
something.
be the best U.S. player?
So how do you define that, right? Now, do you define that as a overall player? As an overall player, probably not.
No.
As a pure goal scorer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say
probably the
yes.
best of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we got like,
Madonna.
I mean, looking, did not. Wait, did you say did not? Oh, I think you said. Oh, I thought you said Donato. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Ted Donato.
Yeah, Madonna.
No.
That's what I was.
Yeah, Ted Donato. I don't even know he's American.
Oh,
I'm just at this point it's like an hour before New Year's, and I'm just throwing shit out there willy nilly.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean Brett Hull is the greatest, has the most points of all time, U.S. born. Patrick Kane's there. Yeah, there's a lot of good players. Jeremy Roenick.
Yeah.
Jeremy Roenick, Pavelski, Tkachuk, Keith Tkachuk, I should say. The Tkachuk brothers could be in that conversation eventually. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, there's definitely some guys, and then you got Brian Leach on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
There's some great Hall of Fame talent with U.S. born, but could he go down as the best goal scorer of all time? Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. But would I say he's the best U.S. born player of all time? No. I wouldn't say
useless knowledge. Chiefs. I should make this a thing. Chiefs useless knowledge. Leach was the first American to win the Conn Smythe.
That's actually not that useless as you think. that's not as useless as you think there.
Okay, fair.
So, we went on about the Maple Leafs and how we both feel they're not gonna really do anything. They'll maybe win a round or two, but they're just gonna the Leafs are gonna leave.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Rob Brind'Amour. You actually gave me this little factoid. Fastest NHL coach to 300 wins. And you asked, and it is a very, very good question, is he a Hall of Fame coach right now? So, you want me to give you my answer?
Sure.
I think Rob Brind'Amour is one of the best coaches in the NHL. And any team would be blessed to have him.
Yes.
I think he fits perfect in the Carolina Hurricane culture. He is through and through a Kane. And that's why I thought it was crazy when you had some people thinking like, yo, you should get rid of Brind'Amour. I thought that was like, are you smoking crack? He's one of the best coaches in the league. And he takes teams that maybe not have the most talent on paper, but he takes teams and makes them competitive. Now, he's had a lack of playoff success. That is very, very fair. But at the same time, 300 wins, being the fastest coach 300 wins is great. But is he a Hall of Fame coach right now? No. What keeps him from that right now would be the lack of playoff success and the lack of a Stanley Cup. Now, if he had a cup already, I think it's a whole different conversation.
You kick the tires. You definitely kick the tires in a different way.
But right now, do I think he's a Hall of Fame head coach? No. I think that's too soon. So, your thoughts on it? What do you think he's a Hall of Fame coach?
No.
How do you view him as a coach?
I think he is a hell of a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was one of those guys that when he was playing, you hated him if he wasn't on your team.
Absolutely.
I mean, and he brought it. I mean, he was just gritty, did all the dirty work, and was a solid player. Now, in the next 4 years, if Carolina wins a couple cups in the next 4 years, my answer immediately becomes yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I think he needs more than one. I think with two though, he's cemented himself. Send him to Toronto.
No, you don't want him to lose. I think.
No, I mean the Hall of Fame, not the Maple Leafs. I wouldn't wish on anybody.
No, God, we're gonna have no Leaf fans for this. We're just joking, guys.
I
think no, I think he would be a Hall of Famer at that point.
Yeah.
So outside of Brind'Amour, what NHL coach currently would you love to have on your team? Like, what's a coach that you view is somebody that you'd be blessed to have.
Even though I've hated him everywhere he's been, I mean, both of them, and I think the two guys I'm going to name, the first one, I think, when he's not winning, he's a whiny bitch. And this is going to get more hate. I like John Cooper. I think he's tremendous.
Yeah.
And Paul Maurice. I think I like Paul Maurice a lot. I think both of them tremendous coaches. I wasn't going to throw my coach in there, who I think is Bednar. I think is fantastic. Because it's funny because I was on my Facebook a couple days ago and my logo was the avalanche with a poop emoji. Because when he took over for Waugh that first season was atrocious.
Yeah.
But I wanted him gone. After
Yeah,
that
you
first
did.
season.
You did not like him.
I did not like him, but I've come around. I've eaten my fair share of crow because I've had a couple friends of mine be like, "Oh, how you feel about Bednar now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's great. He's fantastic. He's a tremendous coach."
Yeah.
Also, I mean, he's the only coach that's won a cup in the ECHL, AHL, and NHL.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, Maurice to Cooper, I can't stand either of them, but all the respect.
Maurice kind of, to me, he's one of those guys for the longest time. It was a really good coach, just never had the cup, and then obviously Florida, he helps them get over the top, right?
Yeah.
So Maurice was going to be one of those coaches, in my opinion, that would have been like a great coach, but never won a cup. But unfortunately for him, he kind of broke through. And so I agree with you on Maurice. Brind'Amour, obviously, be a guy I'd love to have.
Yep.
And then outside of kind of the obvious, well, it's actually funny. I would say this. Bruce Cassidy, I liked him. And mind you, I'm a Bruins fan, so we already had him, but I liked him. I don't think he should have got canned. So he's a guy that I think very highly of. But kind of going into like the next tier down, right?
Okay.
Situationally here. So Torts won a cup, right?
Yes, love Torts.
I absolutely love Torts. He is an amazing person, and
yes.
He's one of these guys that he gets a bad rep, and yeah, he was hot-headed, especially when he was younger, and yada, 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 but he brings out the most on some mediocre teams. I mean, he made those Blue Jackets teams, like that major upset that one year against
they beat,
Lightning.
was it Pittsburgh? Or Lightning? Yeah,
no, they beat the Lightning. They beat the Lightning, who had a crazy season. And then you kind of have him get the best out of the guys in Columbus. He goes to Philly, and a little bit of a mixed bag, but he does the best with what he's given there in Philly, right? You have some young players that are going to go through growing pains. I like Torts a lot. I think Tortorella's a great coach to have when you're going through a rebuild, or even having some. If you have the right personality, you can have him on a veteran team. But he's a really good coach to have if you're trying to build a better culture.
Yeah. Now, he was the coach of the Rangers when they made the cup run against the Kings, correct?
I believe so, yes. I can double check that.
Yeah, I want to say it was, but I will say one of my favorite pastimes is watching Torts press conferences on YouTube. Like, you get the compilation clips of his press conferences. I mean, it's just gold.
No, it was Vigneault. Okay, yeah, no, it wasn't him. So it was Vigneault.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I do know he's been around the block a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's definitely I don't know. I love Torts. He won a Stanley Cup obviously with the Lightning, with Le Cavalier and Martin St. Louis. So he's been with Tampa. He's been with the Rangers, and he's been with the Jackets after that. And I think now with Philly, he's trying to build something there. I think if Genuine question here. Do you think Tortorella's got a bit of the short end of the stick when it comes to teams?
See,
Like teams willing to hire him? Because I think the Rangers, they had some solid years under Torts. Weren't able to kind of get over the hump, but he goes to Columbus.
I look at him. He was the coach of the Kings and the Flames. Bruce Sutter.
Yeah. Daryl Sutter.
Daryl Sutter. Yeah, I'm sorry. Daryl Sutter. He's in that same mold. He seems to have about a 3 to 5 year life expectancy. About everywhere he goes.
Yeah. Except Tampa.
Well, yeah. Fair. Fair. But
Tampa, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But yeah, besides that, you're right. It's around 45 years.
And it's just like because he's too hard on guys. And after a while, there's only so much that guys are gonna take of that. Just because that's a hard environment. If your coach is, just the level of intensity day in and day out. Daryl Sutter is intense. Torts is intense.
Yeah. Yes.
And you just get these hella intense dudes.
They just can't. It gets old after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just essentially you just kind of. Just not through a. It's not any fault of his own. It's just the way he is. Just kind of runs himself out of town, for lack of a better term. But those guys get because they come in, they shake up the culture, they get results early, and people are willing to take that because hey, all of a sudden we suck, but now we got Daryl Sutter, or Tortorella, and all of a sudden the fortunes have changed. But after a while, it kind of just gets a bit much
tiresome.
For people, I think.
Yeah, it gets tiresome.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's definitely plays a factor into it. It gets tiresome. You get kind of tired of the of it, which it makes sense, right? It's some coaches just have a certain license. I think that's why Bruce Cassidy with the Bruins, because he had some veterans, and veterans got tired of getting called out. But I do think he was a very good head coach.
A great coach.
I think Montgomery was a good coach. Sometimes
look
it
at
comes
Cassidy,
down to
turn around, won a cup with Vegas.
Yeah, go figure, right? Go figure. So this is a little off the script of the outline we kind of talked about, but let me ask it because we're going to our final subjects here. What would be your New Year's change that you'd like the NHL to do in improving whether the product, improving the marketing? Like, what's something you would like the NHL to do to just improve the league overall? Like, what's one change, New Year's change they could make to improve it?
It's actually kind of twofold. Just keep it to 2 outdoor games, and where the one they already had one this season where every team played.
Yeah.
Have it on one Saturday in the first half of the season, like before the All-Star break, once after on a Saturday, everybody plays. And you just, because, have like the NHL Network, TNT, just have their coverage just be a bounce around. Just kind of like an NFL red zone.
I was just going to say, so like a red zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have them bounce around, just, if there's something, if there's a lot of action in one game, just cut to that for 2-3 minutes. Still have like all the games being played, but if you just want to just, get little bits and pieces of every part of the game, just do that. Because I think you would be able to grab somebody who's just looking to get into hockey.
Yeah, I do agree.
Because you're just showing them, hey, this and this, and this action, is every game going to be like this? No. but you're just giving them, easily digestible snippets of hockey.
Yeah.
So that somebody who may not be interested in hockey all of a sudden is like, oh wow, pretty cool.
For me, the big change I'd like them to make, just saying, is the less barriers around accessibility of watching the games.
Yeah.
I will point blank say, it gets frustrating when you have certain games behind the paywall. Now, I have ESPN Plus, right? I have these services, right? I have the access to TNT. I really wish they would bring back NHL Network or NHL.TV.
Yeah.
NHL coverage where you could buy it directly like you can with the NFL and things of that nature.
Yep.
Because I think that's a far better product. Now, I understand why they do it, because they made the contract with ESPN, made that an exclusive thing, yada, yada, yada. I get it.
Yeah.
But for me, one of my biggest gripes is just the various different platforms. And, we live in a day and age of streaming, right? And I think getting the TNT has been great because you have Bizanek, Gretzky, you've had some really, really funny moments, right, with TNT. But I would like them and somehow just to make it a little bit more accessible. And if I wanted to just pay even a little bit more, right, just to get it directly from the NHL network or from the NHL itself, I'd prefer that.
What was it, $149.99?
I think it was like that, something like that.
So I got a pretty good deal being a vet. I used to get it for $95 entire season.
That's not bad.
Oh, dude, it was 100% worth it. 100% worth it. And I am right there with you because I've gotten frustrated because so far, I don't know why it is, there's like 3 or 4 games that I wanted to watch the Avs play that all of a sudden it's like, oh, NHL Network. Unless I want to spend like so much money for a completely other streaming service that carries that, I'm gonna pay like $40 to watch 4 games.
Yeah,
I think it's asinine. Maybe that's just me being a grumpy old man, but I just think it's stupid.
Well, it's so the ESPN. It's I think per year it's around $80-$100, something like that. I'd have to look up fees. I hate to say it this way, I pay monthly, so I pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because there's months where I don't get ESPN Plus because the only reason I have it is for hockey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the TNT, it's that's a cable subscription, or you can it adds more fees to it, right? So I used to have NHL Center Ice when I was younger. So because I would remember watching East Coast. Yeah, I'm dating myself here. I used to watch the East Coast games, and then at like 10 o'clock, little Paulie used to get excited. Oh, I'm gonna watch the Phoenix Coyotes at the time, or just I watch a bunch of different because I'm a hockey addict, and it was I just wish we had that again.
Yeah.
It was a really good product to have, and then with the streaming abilities that the NHL Network has now, they could do it. They could easily set something up to make something work. But I think due to contracts, and it will be interesting. Do you know how long that ESPN NHL contract is? Because I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it was like a 10-year deal or something like that. 8-10-year deal is usually what I'm guessing those go for. I'm
7-year. 7-year. So they did that deal in 2021. So
28.
Actually, yeah, that's actually not. So it would come to end at 28. So maybe that's something they think about going forward. But I think they probably like the idea of being on the Sports Hub, the major network.
Yeah, the mothership.
Yeah, so it's. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be my big New Year's resolution.
Right there with you. I get frustrated because, and then there's other games I'd like to watch. I'm like, oh, look, it's on the NHL Network. It's like when watching the NFL when they only had the Saturday games on like Prime or whatever. You had to own some odd ass streaming service just to watch the game, and I was just like, this is lame.
Yeah, I do hate. Oh, dude, like the games on Netflix for the NFL.
Oh.
Like, why Netflix? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And that definitely gets annoying. And the only reason I even saw those games is I went over. My brother-in-law and my sister were hosting Christmas dinner. So
No
we had
way.
that in the back. Yeah, it's the only way I watch it. 'Cause it's the only way I don't have Netflix. I don't buy much of these. Like, I wouldn't have ESPN Plus if it wasn't for hockey, and I like to make content. I like to watch the games, right? And, and the one thing I'll give ESPN Plus that you could easily do with the NHL app is, the ability to watch the replays. And they have, I think they keep it for about a week, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little thing for me where, I can make content and record and all that. But, I just personally would like to see just one subscription service, please. For the love of God. And get rid of the blackout stuff. That's another complaint I will have. I'm going to go on a rant here. I hate blackouts. Blackouts make no sense. Not in the current era that we live in. Not in the current era where everything is online and everything else. Blackouts make no sense. No. Why would I pay for a service like even ESPN Plus, because it will get, it will get blacked out sometimes because it's on my local network, Nesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I pay to watch an NHL product, why are we doing blackouts? Like,
so,
it's absolutely absurd.
I'm going to make you laugh. So, you know what I'm blacked out from?
What's that?
Minnesota Wild games. So whenever the Avs play the Wild, I can't watch it.
What?
Yeah. I am 12 hours away by car from Minneapolis. But those Wild games are blacked out to me. But not Colorado games, which is 6 hours away.
I'm so confused. That makes no sense.
Right?
That feasibly makes no sense at all.
And what pisses me off is Central Division, so anytime the Avs play the Wild, I can't watch it. I have to, thankfully, I have Sirius on my phone, so, I'll be goofing around the house, and I have to listen to the game.
Yeah, get rid of blackouts.
Yeah,
NHL, if you listen to this, if you listen to this podcast, get rid of it. For the love of God. It's dumb. You're making us all pay hundreds of dollars a year to watch your product.
And you're blacking out a team that a guy is 12 hours by car from.
It's so stupid.
Right?
I didn't know you were blacked
Dude,
out for the
yeah.
games. I mean, that's the Wild. That's great. That makes no flipping sense.
No, zero. I was just like, that is the most asinine thing. Because when I first got it, I was like, dude, it was, the Wild. We were going to play the Wild. All my Facebook Colorado Avalanche posts are, division rival, and I'm like getting all ramped up because I don't like the Wild. And
that's clear.
I hate the Wild. I hate Charlie Coyle. I don't care who he plays for. Actually, I refer to him as, I'm going to say this as politely as I can, see you next Tuesday, Coyle.
Damn.
I hate him.
You hate Charlie Coyle. That's great.
I hate Charlie Coyle. And it's funny now because even though he plays for the Bruins, my girlfriend's like, oh, Coyle scored. I'm like, he still is that word.
Yeah.
And she's like, why do you hate him? And I was like, oh, because of the first-round playoff game where he laid up Tyson Barrie and a couple other defensemen, and we ended up getting smoked. Because all those hits were, questionable, and they never called it, and I just lost my biscuits.
Which is funny because Coyle doesn't even hit like that. That's the funny part. Coyle does not hit that much at all. So I guess he just hates. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna watch the film. I'm gonna see if I can grab some film and watch that, and we can do a breakdown of your favorite Charlie Coyle hits.
Yeah, let's do that. Please, please sign me up for this. Please sign me up for this.
Your favorite Charlie Coyle moments.
Yes, my most cherished Charlie Coyle moments. Oh, look, this is when he tried to put Tyson Barrie in a wheelchair.
That's why I hate Matt Cook. Matt Cook ended Savard's career. I hate Matt Cook.
Yeah,
guy's a fucking scumbag. And it wasn't just he hurt a lot of dirty. Not even just borderline, just dirty player. I never liked Cook, but That is funny. Charlie Coyle.
Yeah.
Because like that's been a complaint with some Bruins fans. Like, use your body, hit that guy, because he's a big boy. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was PTSD from ending some careers. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
So,
Yeah. It's just I loathe that dude.
That is so funny. But so hey, I mean, I think this was a kind of a fun impromptu New Year's Day podcast. We're trying to bring this to you weekly when we can, or maybe every 8 days, 9 days, due to me being on the boat. And so, guys, if you enjoy watching this, make sure to hit that like, comment, subscribe. You don't gotta do the whole YouTube pandering to kind of get up in the algorithm. But if you guys enjoyed this content, make sure to let us know. And if you want us to cover anything in particular,
yeah, throw it out there
for the next show. Throw it out there. We're pretty open-minded.
We have no agenda.
No agenda.
Hence the name
And
of the...
that's the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
That Chief made up randomly because we were just fucking around.
I was not fully awake and I hadn't had all my coffee yet. So yeah, there we go.
I mean, hey, I kind of like the name, and
I
will say this: go USA! They beat Canada in World Juniors today.
Oh, that was spicy.
That was spicy. Actually, you know what? I know what you're saying in the end. Actually, before we go, what did you think of that game? Did you watch it?
I caught some of the highlights, and it was the highlights wasn't so much of the goals, but it was the showing of love, of brotherhood. That's what I think I saw the most highlights of, was all the angst that the Canadians had. And you know what? I just kind of giggled.
Dude, it was absolutely, like, you see them get into a tussle. It was at the end of the first. They were kind of getting into it. Like there was. I'm like, damn, like, because in World Juniors, like, they don't really play with that double IHF. They don't. So they don't play with that, but they let them kind of go.
Mm-hmm.
Americans beat the Canadians 4-1. So little brother loses again. And
wow,
listen,
dude. You're gonna have some dude from St. Albans, from Sudbury, Ontario, put a bomb in your car.
Well, someone put on Twitter, the 11th province, our little brother. That's what they said. Well, you're the 51st state, so we're we own you,
dude.
Oh man,
Harsh.
now watch me saying this crap, and it's just they face each other in like the goal, and they just U.S. gets shit on, but it's
Holy, we already pooped all over the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're just rubbing salt in the wound at this point. Like,
no, the Maple Leafs they're a good team on paper. They could do the playoffs, just like Canada's not doing anything in this tournament. They lost to Latvia. They lost to the U.S. Like, listen, Canada, maybe switch to sports. I don't know. No, but
dude. Yeah. And Paulie's gonna finish this off by saying, poutine sucks.
Poutine's actually excellent. Have you had poutine?
Oh, I love poutine. Well,
so
in
good.
Jersey they call it disco fries.
Well, it's funny because, as you know, I played up in Canada in the summers and some junior programs, but like that was man. I'll be honest with you. Montreal's a beautiful city. Toronto's a really beautiful city. I actually want to go to Vancouver, so I love a lot of Canada. Now, what
sorry, that was
DMX
my dog.
over. That's fine, it's DMX. And but speaking of the game, I mean, Augustine and net for the Americans played amazing.
Yeah.
And Canada just can't score, dude. They're struggling. Like, they're getting some shots on net, they just can't score.
They put up a bunch of shots. I did see that. They put up more than their first share of shots. I don't know.
They did.
Oof. Yeah, but I will say this. If I know they have it's supposed to be what is it, a round robin tournament?
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, everybody else plays round robin except America and Canada, where we play a 7-game series. Because give me 7 games of that, and I would just be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely terrific. It's a lot of great hockey. I've when I can, watching the WJC has been a lot of fun. It's
Now,
really good hockey.
in the juniors, so this is probably more hyperbole than anything. Is the World Junior Championship, the WJC, Canada versus America, the best rivalry in hockey right now? Probably not, because it's not played very often.
It's yeah. I mean, if you're saying internationally, yeah. I mean, internationally,
yeah.
But best rivalry in all of hockey, including like the NHL. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'd say outside the NHL.
Outside the NHL, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at anybody for saying that. There's a lot of great games. There's a lot of great games in that. Actually, you know what? God, I know I'm adding another friggin' topic, and I kind of apologize, but we're already here, we're recording. And this is exactly the no agenda. But they're like it's funny because he's like, oh, let's stick to a script, and that just never ever happens.
Yeah. Who are we kidding?
What do you think about Russia not being included in these events?
I think it's fair.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, listen. I know we try to keep away from politics, religion, and crap. It's not hockey. But it's just you kind of shot yourself. One dude screwed a lot of people.
Yeah. That's true.
And, for whatever megalomaniacal reasons, would I love to see Russia? Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, would it be, you'd probably have to add a sixth team, which would probably end up being, the Swedes, Norwegians, and Finns. So you'd have all the Scandinavian teams representative.
Right.
And then the Russians, so you have a 16 playoff, so, there's, an even amount of teams, so it's not like, a weird round robin where, somebody's going to end up playing one less game.
Well, it's the reason I asked is Craig Conroy of the Flames. It's kind of bold to do this on your public account as a general manager, right? He's a Calgary Flames GM.
Yeah.
He put it's a shame that Russia should be in this event. That it's a shame that we're punishing teenagers for the actions of adults, or something of that nature. So he's essentially, he wants Russia into it, and part of me is like, probably to make scouting a little bit easier. I mean, let's be honest, that's also plays into it. So you get to see these players live, right? That's also so I'm kind of torn on it because I hate making young kids pay for the actions of a maniac, right? Yeah. I know we don't want to get political, but I'll say that I'm more than happy saying Putin is a maniac, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, I understand why. It's a shame.
It is.
Because there's so many good young Russian players, and I think Russia could have a solid squad. They could have a really good squad.
Because, I mean, we've got a lot of good guys in the NHL, but there'd be a lot. I guess we get to see a lot of dudes in the KHL that are fucking pretty solid. Yeah,
absolutely. Some guys that are still, contract bound to the KHL.
Yeah.
That it's just from that aspect, it's a bit depressing. And I've actually thought about trying to pay for KHL games, but ethically I can't. I'm not going to support Russia in any way. So you know what I mean? Because it's oh, let me get some recordings. Wait a minute, you're financially, and I know it's it's a league and all this, but to me, it's just a shame, man. I just, as a hockey fan, it'd be really fun to see them play internationally because, I remember the shootout with the Americans with Kovalchuk and Oshie. There was some really amazing moments with Russia.
Yep.
And we're just getting robbed of that because of one guy, just to be quite point blank, being a complete and major douchebag.
Yeah. Being a complete and utter jackass.
And I'd say, hey, you have Ukraine and Russia face each other in hockey and solve it, but I don't think that'd be fair. I don't think that'd be fair.
Probably not.
But, no.
So. Somebody be like, let's send some American players over. What the hell are we doing?
I'm resisting a joke right now, and I'll resist it, because when you said that, I was like, yeah, but I'll stop. But, so... This is the No Agenda podcast, our second ending here. So again, guys, if you enjoy these shows, make sure to drop a like, comment. You know, if you are interested, we have a Patreon down below. So if you want to support us monetarily, you're more than can do so. But there's no pressure to do so. I know that we live in tough times, man. Everything's expensive. So
You're telling me.
more important than anything else is to drop a like, comment, subscribe, show your support, and we'll try to bring episode 3. I get back to the boat in about a week's time, so we'll probably try to shoot for a Thursday, Friday of next week for another recording. But
Word.
as always, Chief, man, it's always fun, man. So it's fun just talking hockey
It's
with
the
you.
hoot. I mean, if people come in and listen, you know what? That's just gravy because, you know, this is always a good time. Never sucks.
Dude, this is stuff we would do off air, just in conversations.
Oh, yeah.
That's the funniest part.
Oh.
That's actually why I remember when you called me, like, you know, dude, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't say Gilles Melange.
Oh, Gilles. Shout out to our good friend, Horse, or I should say Sergeant Headbanger Ball. I'll actually include a link to his Rumble. So if you are interested, he has a lot of metal shows and
Good stuff too.
really good content. So I'd appreciate if you show him a little bit of love.
Hell yeah.
I'm Captain Paul. That's my good friend Chief, my co-host. We'll be back next week at some point. Again, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you.
Have a happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year's. That's true. Happy New Year's, everybody.